Welcome to the Mind Your Wedding Business podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Dennis. In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 30 years ago. Each week on this podcast, you'll hear thought-provoking and empowering interviews with wedding professionals who have found success in the industry. If you're a business-minded wedding pro who loves love, but also cares about their bottom line, buckle up and get ready to learn from a new industry expert each week. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business. I am here with Tanya, who is the Vow Whisperer. She's the founder of the Vow Whisperer. So we're going to be talking about multicultural ceremonies as the ultimate way to celebrate heritage. Tanya, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I have wanted to be on this show for years.
Wow.
Yes. I'm so glad we're doing this.
I'm excited we're doing it too. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Tanya, and how we got you here today?
Absolutely. I started the Vow Whisperer 6 years ago after typically, very often you hear this when a planner will have started her wedding business after her own wedding. Well, I started this business after my second wedding. And
wow.
It was really, I had this big, fabulous, lucrative, glamorous corporate career. And I got married. I didn't know, I had had one wedding years ago, and this one, I had no idea what I was doing, but I planned it and we wrote our vows, and the New York Times covered it for one of those, full on, the main one of a Sunday.
Wow.
And the
That's
writer
a big deal.
It was a big deal. And the writer came up to me after the ceremony and she said, "Look, I have covered hundreds of weddings for the New York Times, but I have never seen such an incredible ceremony." And the next words were, "Tanya, I know what you do in your real life, but this is what you need to be doing. You need to join the wedding industry and figure something out."
Wow.
And literally a month later, I was having lunch with a guest at the wedding. And I said, "I don't know. I mean, what about if I help couples with their vows?" Because that's how I started out. And he said, "Oh my God, you're the Vow Whisperer."
And there we go.
And there we go. And I started this plan. I mean, my husband constantly tells me I did it all wrong. I did not have a business strategy or a business plan. I had nothing but a crazy idea. And 6 years ago, it took off. I created, at the time, a very niche category, and I now have a ton of competition. I did not have anyone 6 years ago. And it was helping couples with their vows. And important to note, I'm not a writer. And so it's basically counseling, advising, getting people to bring out everything about their past lives, the relationship, what, the proposal was like, what did you feel like when you first met? All of these things, I get it out of the person. And then I craft their vows using their words. So it is 1,000 million times % from their hearts. It's not me. I'm not feeling what they feel.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. And then I was working with a couple and they said, "You know what? We've just fired our officiant. Would you marry us instead?" I went,
Jeez.
"Sure." So that became a whole thing. And I, very lucky, I travel the globe doing this now. And
Wow.
then the part of the business that has exploded, and I think you'll understand this, in the last couple of years, most weddings are performed by family members or friends. These people have no idea what they're doing. I hear one horror story after another, and from planners. And it's become the biggest part of my business. I coach these people on how to perform the ceremony like a pro. I'll craft the ceremony with the couple so they get exactly what they want. And this poor friend or Uncle Johnny or whoever does not have to AI, how do I write a wedding ceremony?
Help me out, ChatGPT.
Exactly. It never goes well. So the ceremony is exactly what the couples want. And then I coach the officiant with everything from stage directions to don't forget to tell the guests to please be seated after you've told them to
Oh,
please rise. Uh-huh.
thank you, because that's
I
what they
know.
all forget. They forget. I
I
can't tell you
know.
how many weddings I've seen where they stand for the entire ceremony.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know. Or they don't get out of the frame for the kiss.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
things like that. So the coaching has become huge. And I do
Wow.
that it's funny because I'd say 40% of my business takes place in Italy. And
Wow.
it's
Lucky.
Americans doing destination weddings in Italy who hire me because they're bringing along Uncle Johnny or best friend Sally.
Mhm.
So, that's in essence what I do.
And it's funny when you said the friends and the coaching, which I think is a much needed thing in our industry, because a couple things I think has been a seismic shift in the wedding industry from when you started your business is people just did repeat after me vows, and that's what you did it because that's what everything done. But now that there's
Right.
been this big seismic shift for breaking tradition and doing all
Yes.
this stuff, now it's like personal vows, and and these couples are laying it all out there on the line.
Oh, yes, they are. And it's almost, I mean, when I started, I had to convince people, you really want to write your vows.
You do.
It's going to make your ceremony just the most magical, so much more so than just a normal, traditional, whatever. And now it's like everybody does vows. And
Mhm.
a lot of them do them in private. First look, that's a trend lately.
Mhm.
Or in the ceremony as a full-on public performance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing to add.
I always love it too, because the couples, I always say it's a raw, real moment, and you're just letting it all out there in front of your closest family and friends. And
Right.
this is, and obviously it had an impact for that writer when you did your vow, but it just, a lot of times it has a real impact on the guests as well as the couple. You know,
Yes. Yes, it's what the guests love the most.
yeah.
And it's also what the couple is going to remember about their
Hmm.
ceremony more than anything else. It's the vows. It's what they say
Yeah.
to each other. It's a love letter to each other that they're sharing publicly or privately, whichever. And it just makes a huge, huge difference in a ceremony.
Yeah. And the one thing I was going to say, too, couples are really, nowadays they're just letting they're bringing, like you said, uncle involved and so many different people. And it's not that traditional thing that we've always had, so many years ago. So you're filling a big void, Tanya, in our industry for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but okay, you're from New York, lots of cultures, lots of different, things. And I always say here and out over here in California, I'm in the tech world, so we are really this melting pot of just so many different religions and cultures and
Right.
kind of different things. So
Right.
get back to our topic. It's like, how can wedding pros respectfully approach conversations about like heritage and cultural traditions with their clients?
So something that's interesting, yes, I am from New York. I'm in the mecca of cultural,
Hmm. You
whatever.
got it.
I
Yeah.
got it. Yeah. I'm originally Belgian. And so
Oh.
I grew up, I was born and raised there, and I grew up surrounded by, I mean, you have countries everywhere that are different cultures. And, so that was part of my DNA.
Hmm.
And coming to America, uh, was a huge culture shock, I have to say.
Hmm.
We just had Halloween here. I did not grow up with Halloween.
Wow.
It's still a foreign thing to me. It's still
Yeah.
like, why are you all getting dressed? I mean, but
That's okay. I'm
so,
American, and Halloween's a foreign thing. That's my least favorite holiday. So,
oh, I may, yeah, exactly. But people take it very seriously.
over my wife is one of those.
Really?
Yeah, she loves Halloween.
What does your front yard look like right now
Uh,
still?
actually, we've converted it to Thanksgiving, so
Oh,
it's
oh,
got a. I got kids, so we have a couple of turkeys blown up, and and then we have permanent color lights on the house that change. You hit a button on your phone, and it changes that color of them. I
nice.
really like them. They're a lot of fun. So
Very cool.
we're very
So,
fall right now. We're living in
oh,
fall.
except It's pretty hot though, right?
Yeah, here in California, it is. It's weird. Like right now, as we're recording, it's 70 degrees right now in November.
Okay. Okay. So the multicultural, you asked how does one approach or how does one
Yeah,
discuss? So
because
it
I was just gonna say, because I feel like if you don't know, some people will just not ask and just try to go along with it. But I think they're missing the boat if they don't have that conversation.
I think it's one of my first questions when I meet a couple on Zoom. It's, you know, do they envision anything for their ceremony? And most couples don't. They have no idea what to even ask. So
Mm-hmm.
I probe a lot. I probe a lot to get as much out as I can. And I always ask, where's your ancestry from?
Mm-hmm.
Are you second generation, fourth generation? What did your grandparents do at their wedding? And what did your parents do at their wedding? And I just keep asking questions. And when it's very obvious to me that one is one ethnicity and the other is another, I talk about, do we want to celebrate where you are each from?
Mm-hmm.
And inevitably, it's like, oh my God, what an amazing idea. Let's
Mm-hmm.
bring a Nigerian dance into the ceremony. Let's do a Malaysian tea ceremony. Let's do a this and a that. And I have now, there's no culture that I have not, and I love doing this because if I don't know the cultural aspect of a particular background, the research can be so much fun. And especially when you research wedding traditions, that things that you've never heard of. And I really do believe that couples more than ever are writing their own rules. They are deciding what they want to do. It's not mommy and daddy. And
Mm-hmm.
so here they're saying many times, not always, we don't want religion, but we
Mm-hmm.
want to celebrate our heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And so very much, whether I'm officiating or coaching somebody else or, crafting the ceremony, whatever it is, we will incorporate these wonderful rituals, traditions, fun things that range from music to poetry to who knows.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done because I got to know the Indian culture so well
Yeah, we
that
do a lot of Indian too. And I'm
I,
still learning. We've done a lot, and I feel like I'm still learning because there are different pockets in
yes,
India. Yeah, and
yes,
you're forever learning, I feel like.
I've learned so much about some of these different pockets that I am
Mhm.
now, I am now a Sanskrit speaking, um, full blown Hindu priestess.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I'm joking a little bit. It's mostly fusion Indian weddings that I
Mhm.
do, but I can totally wing it.
Mhm.
It's something because I've done so many of them now that I get found for this, and it's yeah, if somebody's an Indian marrying a whatever, somebody else, it could be a Catholic or a Jewish or whatever it is, I can do both sides.
Oh, that's
So,
nice.
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Here in the Bay Area, like immediately made me think of I had an Indian bride, and the groom was Korean, and so
Mm,
they blended both, and so they did the Eastern wedding in the morning, and then the Western celebration in the evening, and but it made for one long day,
sure.
but a lot of the Indian celebrations here in California, some of them are still multi-day, but
Yes.
they're starting with a ceremony sometimes as early as 8 a.m. to 9
Yep.
a.m. in the morning, and then
Yep.
they go until 11 plus at night.
I
So
know.
it's amazing. I always test my couples at the end. I'm like, you guys are on adrenaline right now. They're like, yeah, we have to take it all in, but it's such an interesting way. But I was going to say too, with some of the times I've seen it done very well done is like I just thinking of an Indian Mexican wedding I did, and so he was Indian, she was Mexican, and so what they were doing is for the Indian side they had an uncle that explained the ceremony to the guests so they understood what it was about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Or you do, I remember doing a Korean, and they all came in their national uh, costumes, outfits, whatever. It was so beautiful. That was straight. No, it was Korean American actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost my train of thought about these Koreans.
Oh, that's okay.
No, I didn't.
We'll work on it. All right. So let's move on a little bit because I have a question about some best practices because people nowadays could jump to ChatGPT to get information. But what do you think the best practices for vendors who may be unfamiliar with a specific culture or religion? How do they learn about this? I always find learning from the couple is usually a good way to go. But what's some good practices in that?
It depends what kind of vendor you are and what do you need to know. I mean, the wedding planner obviously needs to know more than anybody what she's planning. And Indians typically hire an Indian wedding planner.
Mm-hmm.
There's an exception. There's a planner in South Florida who does every single Indian wedding there, and she is as all-American as you can get, but she
Mm-hmm.
knows her stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. You, for example, I would think you would need to know
Mm-hmm.
um, a little bit about their culture.
Mm-hmm.
And look, AI is great. I yeah, I do not encourage AI for vows or writing a ceremony or a speech. I have a lot of people who come to me saying, I went down that road and no, it's not working. But if you're doing research on a culture or two, ChatGPT is amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then I also ask a lot of questions, and sometimes I'll talk to the parents
Mm.
because sometimes the kids don't know. And they'll say, can you talk to our parents and ask a little bit about what they did at their wedding because we would like to do the same thing, but we just don't know enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'll, you know, it's a family affair here. It's a lot of
Yeah.
research goes into this.
Well, and then is there a good, without burdening the clients, is there a good way to go about that? Like without putting, I guess doing your research on your own, but it's good to learn from the client as well.
Yeah, it's not. I think. Well, when I talk to parents, they love it.
Mm-hmm.
They feel involved. They're not just paying for the wedding if they're paying for the wedding. They're getting involved and they love talking about their own wedding and they're reliving their memories. And it's not a burden at all. No, I get into a bigger situation where I wouldn't call it a burden, but I have been, now this is not multicultural, but multi-religious.
Mm.
And that's when I sometimes have to intervene with the parents because one wants a chuppah and the breaking of the glass and the wine blessing, and the other is saying, absolutely not. This is not a Jewish wedding. I'm a Catholic. My son is Catholic. And then I do have to get in between.
No,
And
that's
then
got to be rough.
it's rough. Yes,
Yeah.
it's rough. But it's my job. I've got to do that. And sometimes I'm really mediating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it can get tricky. So that is burdensome on me, actually,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not a conversation that I particularly enjoy doing, but
That's
need to.
well, yeah, because you're blending the families, and if they don't have the same beliefs, then that's when it gets and if they have probably very strong beliefs on their side, they're gonna put their feet in the sand a little bit and hold tight to not let it go.
I have a story. I did a wedding in one of the most spectacular venues right outside of New York last year. And um, it was a Jewish woman, a man marrying a Catholic. I mean, it was just a simple, traditional, multi-religious, whatever. When I got there, the chuppah was being built, but the Catholic family said, no, 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 no. That cannot look like a chuppah. Mr. Florist, you need to turn that into just an arch. And that got really interesting.
Mm.
I mean, the dynamics at the wedding, you're creating all this havoc over some flowers, whether they're over your head or on the side. Who cares? It's like, Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, people dig in. They really do. So, all right. So, how can planners and creative teams collaborate to ensure like cultural elements are incorporated authentically, like really done well?
So I think it starts with me by the ceremony is really where you see it the most. Now, there are plenty of cultures where so much cultural traditions of weddings takes place outside the ceremony. It's food related, it's music related, it's pre-wedding something or other. So I do the research and I approach the wedding planner. This is what we're going to do in this ceremony, but there is so much more that you could also do.
Mm,
Whether it's types of food that you have, whether
mm,
it's, whatever it is. So I sometimes educate the planner on some ideas. Whether I'm officiating or coaching somebody, I'm very connected to the planner. Not so much other vendors.
mm-hmm,
It's really the planner who's the orchestra conductor. And she will then translate to a caterer. Let's have this kind of food to celebrate, whatever the culture is. Um, so I do the research and then I tell the wedding planner, and then it's up to the planner to work with a couple to see what is it that they'd like to do that's outside the ceremony, which I'm
mm.
not in charge of.
Yeah, that's which probably makes you happy to not be in charge of that. All right. So you're known for helping couples make their ceremonies deeply personal. So how do you balance cultural tradition with individuality?
So I think it's interesting because maintaining your individuality in a ceremony, sometimes one culture is far heavier than the other.
Mm,
The Jewish ceremony elements are far more intense than in a non-Jewish. Now, not
hmm.
Indian. Indian, there's a ton
Yeah.
of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Moroccan, a ton of stuff to do. But the Jews, and I'm a Jew, so I can
Hmm.
talk about, there's a lot that we do in a ceremony.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's a lot more than the other, whatever other culture. So I need to find ways to balance it out so it's a little equal. Though very often the other person in the couple will say, you know what, it's okay. Do the wine blessing, do the this, do the that. We'll just do a prayer for mine. It's all we need. My parents will
Hmm.
be fine with that.
Hmm.
I always tell a couple the ceremony is a reflection of who they are as individuals and as a couple. And I want to make sure we celebrate who these two people are because they're very different from each other. They may be madly in love and have so much in common, but they are individual people and we need to celebrate them that way. The vows are a great way to celebrate the individuality of somebody.
Hmm.
Whether it's a multicultural thing or religious aspect, I really do like to balance it out as much as possible. So it really comes through. I want guests to walk away saying, my God, that was so them.
Hmm.
I want it to really, yes, personalized, absolutely. But I want the guests to have the experience. We are all now about the guest experience, right?
Yeah. I preach that.
I preach that also. And I
Hmm.
just saw today on Instagram what Gen Z are looking for in wedding trends. And the last slide was treat the guests like VIPs.
Mm,
Make it about them. Oh, for me, a ceremony, it's yes, sure, it's about doing exactly what the couple wants. But I want those guests to be as engaged, as taken in, as wowed by those 20 minutes, 25 minutes, no more than 30, or it turns into a Catholic mass. Yeah, no, I don't do more than 30.
I agree.
But I want those guests to witness something that is just mind-blowing. It's also the ceremony is the start of the celebration of the next 5 hours, and you better kick it off with a wow because it gets people pumped up and psyched for the party. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
it's also really important. This is the beginning of their marriage.
Hmm.
Let it start on the right foot.
Yeah.
Let it. So for me, that ceremony, many times it's not given the importance it deserves. It's an afterthought when I think it should be a priority. It's so important. It's why we're all there.
Yeah, that's and I think people lose sight of that. That's why you're there. And many years, 5, 6 years ago, even maybe a little bit longer, it's like we just want to do the quickest ceremony possible and get to the party. But that's I think they're losing sight of it. Where I think this generation that we're working with now is a little bit more individualized, and they like to show their individuality and come out. So that's where I think there's been a bigger shift in like for someone like putting individual vows and putting it all out there because people are spending more time on their ceremony than they have in the past.
Absolutely. Though I will say, I still have the ones who say, how fast can we get this done? Could you do an
Yeah.
8-minute ceremony? I'm like, you're gypping your guests. Guests love ceremonies.
Hmm.
And if you do it, if it's too short, they're going, wait, what just happened?
I always say if it takes longer for you to walk in, do the processional and the recessional than the ceremony, we got a problem.
Yes, absolutely. You've got 25 groomsmen walking down
Yeah.
and then boom, done. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. I'm sitting over there on the side. I'm like, we're done. You're like, oh, yeah. Like I'm like dumbfounded that we're already we're already done.
Yeah,
So
you may now kiss. Boom, wait.
yeah, I
They
was like,
just walked down the aisle.
yeah, exactly. So, all right. So, what vendors play the most critical role in pulling off like a seamless multicultural ceremony, and how can they best work together?
I think it's really, I think music is an important piece,
Okay.
especially if it's incorporated. If you have, for my own wedding, my second wedding, I picked a DJ who, because I'm Belgian and my husband is Dutch,
Mm,
so our countries neighboring each other, but but we have so much cultural stuff in our lives, and I love Brazilian music, and he loves this kind of music, and we real and I grew up on Edith Piaf. Well,
mm.
probably nobody knows who she is, but or Jacques Brel, who was Belgian, and I wanted that music
Hmm.
at the wedding, at the reception, not necessarily for the ceremony. And so I worked with a DJ who really understood multicultural music.
Mm,
It was important to me and to my husband as well. So that's one vendor. And obviously the planner, like I was saying before, because there's so many different touches that they can add to create a multicultural wedding. In terms of ceremony, I mean, sometimes, I need props of some sort, or there's a certain musician that needs to play in the middle of the ceremony, or there's a reading in another language, or
mm.
the programs need to be printed in different languages, or whatever. That's usually a plan.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, more than anything. I don't really need to talk to a florist about.
Well, you had to mediate that one that you.
Yeah, I know. Turn that chuppah into right. Exactly. But so typically it's really, I think music is very important. I don't deal with, again, if it's the food that's celebrating heritage, that's not me. I suggest it
Yeah.
to a planner.
Yeah. All right. Well, how can planners and venues prepare in advance for culturally specific needs like changing, attire, traditions, the flow of the ceremony sometimes is affected by all that kind of stuff?
Yes, because there are, like, an Indian ceremony is much longer than my traditional 25 minutes, as you know. But that's not the only one. I mean, I did
Persian too is long.
I was just going to say,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yes, yes, Persian, um, Arabic. I did a Lebanese wedding recently, much
Mm,
longer than normal. So I think if I'm contacted, I'm either contacted by the couple who have found me, for example, found me on here, and suddenly they go, "Oh my God, there's somebody who understands us," and
yeah.
they'll reach out. or a planner. And a planner very often knows. I talk about the multicultural stuff a lot, and
Mm,
planners kind of know me for that.
mm.
So if they come to me and say, I have a couple he's this, she's that, what can you do?
Can you help? Yeah.
Can you help? Then inevitably, I'm hoping that that planner kind of knows what we're going to be doing. Knows something about the culture of the people who just hired him or her. So if we all work together, great. I mean, I did a Japanese sake ceremony, which was very cool. Um,
Sounds cool.
yeah, it was. And, I needed the planner to get me the sake cups and the this and the that and, to help me get prepared. So
Hmm.
the more knowledgeable they are about the couple that they are planning the wedding of, the better. But I'm also here to, if I've spent all the time on the research, I'm happy to hand it over.
I love it. Love it. All right. So have you seen an example where like cultural elements were integrated beautifully because the vendor team communicated well together?
Yeah, yes, actually quite a bit. With Indian ceremonies, when, there's a fire there, and I don't know who the fire vendor is. The fire vendor, and then the garland vendor, and then the incense vendor.
There's a lot. There's
There
a
are
lot.
a lot of people, and the horse dude, or the dove guy, or who, yes, we all have to work together
Hmm.
and pull it off. You never know who you're going to need. And hopefully the wedding planner will have sourced that vendor, and then I'll work with them. I just did a dove release. I'd never done one before. That
Hmm.
was for the Lebanese wedding, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the guy, he was like 87 years old. He shows up right before the ceremony starts with his big box of doves. And I said, okay, show me, explain to me how this works, because I have no idea. I'd had a call with him a week earlier, but I said, okay, so how's this going to work exactly? So we had to work together. So there could be a lot of vendors involved in a ceremony. And it can work beautifully. Everybody is well orchestrated. Again, it's the planner. It's the planner who's done an amazing timeline by the minute of who does what. And that's how it works impeccably. If we're doing a DIY in a backyard, which I've done,
Hmm.
then it's me. That's me.
Oh, it ends up being you.
It's me who's figuring all this stuff out. And look, I started out doing a lot of DIY, and I was doing DIY during the pandemic, and
I was going to say probably through COVID.
yeah, I was super busy during COVID, unlike a lot of people.
I know. Lucky.
People wanted to get married, so it was in Central Park in New York, just the couple and I under a tree.
That's actually probably really beautiful when it's all said and done.
It was wonderful. And the
Hmm.
other thing, this is funny, actually, nothing to do with multicultural, but New York and California were the only two states where we could marry people on Zoom legally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I married hundreds of people in my pajamas on Zoom. I mean, who had to get dressed?
Yeah.
It's like I was home. I wasn't going out.
We were all busy watching Tiger King and all that, whatever.
Oh, yes.
All that good stuff.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But, I don't do so much DIY anymore.
Hmm.
But I can. I'm happy to
Yeah.
if, why not?
Perfect. All right. Before we wrap up, I kind of want you, like, I'm pretend I'm a vendor that's green, doesn't know a lot about multicultural. What advice can you give them to get started, I guess?
Um, do a little research. Again,
Hmm.
ChatGPT will give you everything out in 2 seconds, and you'll learn. It's not that hard. And if the couple has hired you, clearly they trust you. They trust that you understand who they are.
Hmm.
And hopefully the vendor has done a little bit of, I mean, maybe vendors don't even know there's going to be a multicultural ceremony when they're hired.
Hmm.
And so once the couple meets with me, and very often I am the last vendor that they hire.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, it's insane.
Yeah.
But if I'm the last and we suddenly come up with this amazing idea to do a multicultural ceremony, then the vendors all need to know this too. And then again, it's the wedding planner who needs to communicate and then puts me in touch with the vendor. I'm not stepping on the toes of the planner. It's up to me to tell the planner we're going to need music, we're going to need food, we're going to need whatever it is. We're going to need programs printed in Arabic, whatever it is. So very often the vendor, actually, to your point, the vendor does not know this is going to be a multicultural ceremony because the couple didn't even know until I brought it up.
Until they got into it and do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
right.
It's an education. It's not that hard.
It isn't, and I feel like the more I do, the more I learn. Like it's just and some of my like I just did a Jewish wedding where they did the tea ceremony out in front of everyone, so the Jewish side could see the tea ceremony and participate in the tea ceremony.
Right.
And then they did the signing of the ketubah
Yeah.
out in front of everyone, so the Chinese side could see. And both of those are usually very private ceremonies. And
Right.
I thought what a way to educate each side and celebrate each other's culture.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of the same. I remember I did one that was Russian, and I don't know what it was, but I found similarities in both the cultures, and I was able to explain to the guests what I was going to do. I was melding the two cultures together, and it had to do with a kiss at the end. Because I remember the Russians, what they do at the end is all the guests will count. Like the longer you kiss and everybody's counting 1, 2, 3, the longer the marriage is going to last. And I found, and I wish I could remember what the other culture was, but it was a very similar thing. I think it was Georgian.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Georgian, which is not that far from Russia. And they did something very similar. So I put the two cultures together to do this kiss. But I explained to everybody so they understood.
I love it. That's a great way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, again, guest experience. We're right back to guest experience with that as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, Tanya, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
Can you tell our listeners best way to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. The website is thevowwhisperer.com. There's a contact form on there. You can DM me at The Vow Whisperer on Instagram, or I'll give you my email, which is tanya@thevowwhisperer.com.
All right, perfect. And we'll have all of Tanya's information in our show notes to make it easy for you guys to get in touch with her. So, Tanya, I can't thank you enough. I feel like we could have kept talking about
I know.
I feel like we just scratched the surface when it came to multicultural weddings. So, I can't thank you enough, and we'll see you next time. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And folks, we'll see you next time on another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Mind Your Wedding Business, brought to you by Wedding IQ. If you've got a topic you'd love to hear us cover, or if there's an area of your business you're struggling with, let us know and we'd be happy to help. Don't forget to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're a fan, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe and left a review. It helps more wedding pros find us and learn more from our guests too. Thanks again for listening to Mind Your Wedding Business. We'll catch you next time.